Well, hey, how's everyone doing this morning? Good.
Doing well.
I'm Michael Meeks. I'm a beach safety officer for the South Fire District, and I have my counterpart right here, John Adams. He's a beach safety officer as well. He'll be tangling with me. We'll be tag teaming these Saturday meetings. So he can do a meeting one day, and I will as well if I'm not available. So yeah, I'm a beach safety officer, and we're lifeguards on the beach. So I want to start with the flag system. So we have yellow flag, red flag, double red flag, and purple. Usually our Gulf is pretty calm, but I think this year we're going to have, it's El Nino season, so it's going to be a little bit rougher. So you're going to see a lot more red flags and double red flags this year. The main point of the flag system we want to let you know is red flags. So when we do see red flags, we recommend knee deep only. We don't want to have any kiddos going out there chest deep, neck deep, anything like that. And you always want to swim near lifeguard tower. Double red flag days, that's going to be dry sand only. So we're really looking out for y'all's help as well to educate these beach patrons and try to keep all our visitors safe. So on double red flag days, the rule is dry sand only. Not walking on the wet sand, keeping it dry. That way, it's a lot more black and white for our beach patrons that are visiting, and they're not putting themselves in a dangerous situation. Purple flags is for marine life. So that could be jellyfish is what it's usually for. In October and November time, we get manta rays and stingrays a lot more prevalent, so we could be fine for that as well. Lifeguards. So we have 15 towers across our 27 miles of beach. That starts from Inlet, Rosemary area, and goes all the way to Sandestin and Pompano Joe's, Miramar area. Within those towers, we have accesses for people that have disabilities. So we have 6 accesses that do have wheelchairs. That's going to be Inlet Beach. It's going to be Santa Clara Beach Access, which is our Tower 21. Van Ness Butler, which is right there at Seaside in the middle of it. Edwall Lane, which is our main area. And I hate that I'm just telling you all this. I usually have pictures and everything, so I know it's going to be hard to kind of carry with me. But Edwall Lane, that's our next beach access, has a wheelchair. And then we have Fort Hannock, or Dunown. Dunown is going to be our next one. And then we're going to have Pompano Joe's at Tower 54. So we have 6 accesses that are accessible for wheelchairs. This rip current video, it's not going to be shown unfortunately, but I can kind of explain it a little bit. So our rip currents, that's our biggest concern on the beach here in South Walton. We have really fragile sand, and those rip currents, when we have heavy surf, they open right up. So a big tell to see a rip current is scallops on the beach. It's the easiest one to see. So you'll see a flat beach, and then you'll see it start scalloping, and it kind of creates a shelf. That's a good tell for a rip current. The reason being is that feeder, the mouth of the rip current, is pulling so hard, and it's taking a path of least resistance. So that water is pulling all that sand from the shore, which creates a scallop. All right. Another good way to tell it is darker water. So when you see darker water, more turbid, that's a good sign of a rip current. As well as no waves are breaking. The reason no waves are breaking in that rip current is because it's deeper. It's a hole in our sandbar. So all rip current is, say we have a solid sandbar where my arm is, and there's a hole right to the right of it. That water is taking a path of least resistance. So we have a hole in our sandbar, and it's flowing out of that hole. That's why when we say you get caught in a rip current, you just want to calm down, float out of it, wait for help to shore, and that rip current's going to flow you out. You're going to want to swim left to right, depending on which way the current's flowing. And you're going to wind yourself up on a sandbar again. Does anyone have any questions about those rip currents before I move on?
I sort of like just picture in my mind that there's no scallop. So
Yeah.
there's no wave, no wavy water, and it's just so there's that wavy water here, wavy water there, and then it's just smooth.
Yeah.
Which makes you think, oh, I can walk into that smooth area, but that's the area you want to avoid.
Yeah, so that's
where the rip tide is.
Yes, ma'am. That's usually what gets people in trouble is they see that flat water and they see waves breaking to the left and right of it, and people feel a lot more comfortable with going into flat water. But they don't realize that that flat water is a lot deeper, and that's why those waves aren't breaking. So just be mindful of that. If you're talking to any beach patrons and there's a red flag or double red flag day, just let them know. And if you see any kids playing in a rip where it's scalloped and no waves are breaking and it's dark, just go ahead and talk to the parents, just go up to them and say, hey, just want to let you know that is a current, y'all might want to move this way, and where the waves are breaking. So that's where you can refer people to go to, where the waves are breaking. Double red flag responders. So my other counterparts right here, code enforcement and sheriff's office, and they are a huge resource for us. And you all can be as well, because I know y'all are going to be out there on the beach early and sometimes in the evening. So letting people know about our flag system. Because I know me, I'm a Tennessee boy. So I came down here and I was just happy to see the beach. So I wouldn't pay attention to flags, signage, anything like that, and I'd run and just enjoy the beach. And we can't blame beach patrons for doing that. So we do our best to prevent and educate beach patrons about that. And code enforcement and sheriff's office does an awesome job for us, with us, for these double red flag days. I think that's about it, all I have. Is there any questions before I pass it off to anybody else?
If there's somebody in the water on a double red flag day, being a VBA officer, I know we're supposed to do so, but can we?
Yeah, of course. So resources you have. So if you have some people that pay a lot of money to come down here at this beach, and it's understandable that they want to be in the water. So sometimes we do have people that give you a little flack when you're telling them to get out of the water on double red flag days. Take it the easy way first. Go approach a parent, or if there's no parent, talk to the kid and just whistle them in or yell at them and tell them to do this. Say, hey, come back to shore.
A lot of times it's the parents that are in the water.
Yeah, and if it is the parents in the water, that's when we have to pull them to the side and just educate them a little bit. If they do get disturbed, a little annoyed about it, that's where you can lean on lifeguards and you can lean on code enforcement. So if you see a lifeguard nearby, just go ahead and tell them, say, hey, I saw some people down this way. They're in the water. And we can row down that way and go talk to them. If that doesn't work, we can always step it up to code enforcement. And if that doesn't work, sheriffs take over and we can write tickets and do whatever we need to do. So know you have resources available. I believe y'all have the TDC app. Do y'all have the TDC app? Yeah, so a lot of y'all can use that TDC violation format and send it right to TDC, and they're awesome on response time. They will be there right away. It even has a spot where you can click your location, so you don't have to know the address, and they'll be there.
Are they still doing the fines, like if you go in a double red flag?
Yeah, so the fines for double red flag violations is $500.
So would it be better just go and say, I don't want to tell you this, but as code comes by or lifeguard comes by, there is a $500 fine for being in the water.
Yeah.
We'll get them out of the
So
water.
that's what my spill usually is. I try to act like I'm trying to help them out.
Yeah.
Say, hey, not trying to tell you what to do here, but I do want to let you know they are writing tickets for $500. Just want to try to save you some money on your vacation.
Yeah.
And usually people are, okay, I'm going to go get out of the water, and they won't deal with the $500 fine. So.
Is it $500 per person?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And if they continue, they don't want to, and so you'll get funny jokes. So people say, well, can I pay you $500 and I can get in the water? It's not a ticket. You can't pay $500 so you can get in the water. So that don't work. Any other questions?
What hours are lifeguard though?
Yeah, so right now we're 8 to 6. But our seasonal guards, everyone, usually you're going to see all the full force of lifeguards, 9:30 to 6:30. But you'll have our full-time guards that will be available till 7:30, and we take after-hour calls as well. Yes, ma'am.
What about paddleboards and kayaks and red flag?
Yeah, paddleboards and kayaks. So we do have a lot of fishing reefs out there. So does everyone know how to locate the fishing reefs? So we have 5 fishing reefs across Walton County, and you'll be able to see them with a yellow pole. So if you're at a beach access, you're going to have one at Inlet, you're going to have one at Dune Allen, and you're going to have one at Pompano Joe's and Great State Park. So those, when you're at those areas, you're going to see yellow poles, and those are what's marking our reef. So
You say Pompano Joe's and who else?
it's going to be Pompano Joe's, so our Miramar access, Dune Allen, Great State Park, and Inlet. So you can help people out with that because people are really curious about our reefs because they are beautiful. So we have people going out there. If you have anybody question or ask about the reefs, it's about 500 yards out at our second sandbar, and you take those 2 yellow poles and you line them up to where they're one when you're out there, and underneath them will be the reef. Now, when you suggest this to people, I recommend bringing a flotation device, a dive flag, because we do have boaters at that second sandbar. So you want to have something to keep you visible on top of that water. But paddleboards, they can go out as far as they like. We can see up to 4 miles. I don't recommend that. Usually we just let them go to the second. Anything past that second sandbar, we're going to pull them back in.
But in a red flag was the question.
Oh, so red flag day, paddleboarders. So there's an ordinance in South Walton County that has paddleboarders, so double red flag days. You might see surfers out there, people on boards. It's the only time we really get surf in the Gulf over here. So we do allow surfers to be out there on double red flag days. So as long as they have a board tethered to them, they're good to go. On red flag days, we recommend knee deep, but if people go out further than that, they can do it, depending on their level, their swim level, and how comfortable they are with it. We don't recommend it, but we can't stop them from going.
Boogie boards don't count.
Yeah, boogie boards don't count. Reason being, boogie boards don't count. That tethered to their wrist. Those boogie boards are styrofoam, so they'll snap like a toothpick rather than a surfboard.
The reason I asked is I was out last weekend on my paddleboard in red flag and I got my butt handed to me. So I want to be able to tell people my experience plus help them so they don't have the same.
Who handed your butt to you?
That's a workout.
The water. It was, yeah, the water's really cold right now if anybody wants to know. It's one of my, I swam 3 times last weekend.
So to go more in detail with that question, so we do have a swim safe zone here in Walton County, which is 500 yards, which is that second sandbars are good telltale for it. So y'all know the beach a little bit too. So we have our first sandbar, which is where the waves are breaking. It's a lighter colored water. That's our first sandbar. That middle darker area, we call that our trough. So that's a little bit deeper. That's about average, probably 15 to 20 feet. And then you get our second sandbar, which sometimes we have heavy surf. You'll see waves breaking out there. And that averages, so people think it's a sandbar, they can go out there and touch. They can't touch it out there. That second sandbar averages about 8 to 12 feet. Yeah. So yeah, we do have our swim safe zone, which is 500 feet. Any more questions, holes, anything like that? So we try to stop hole digging. If y'all see kiddos digging holes, I don't know what it is, but people come to the beach and they come contractors. They just want to dig, and I don't know what it is, but they do.
You know that in the Wall Street Journal a couple months ago, there was an article on the first page about everybody should go out there and dig holes because it's therapeutic.
Okay. It's like they make everything try to be therapeutic now. But yeah, holes. So we have. It's not because it's an inconvenience to first responders and people driving on the beach, but it is also a safety concern for kiddos and for people digging those holes. We have really fragile sand, so that hole they're digging, if they're making tunnels or if they're in that hole digging, it can collapse on them. And then we lose that child, and we're gonna have to dig them out. And it just becomes a difficult problem that could be.
And that did happen a couple of weeks ago. So it's 7 year.
Yeah, so
That was so sad.
we see people digging holes, we try our best to let them know, hey, we're not digging holes today, let's enjoy the beach and the water. So, you see that, try to educate people on it.
Speaking of the sand, are you gonna mention anything about the weight of the sand on a child's chest? We see a lot of kids buried underneath in the sand, and that could be really, really.
Yeah, so that pressure on that chest can cause airway problems, as well as that fragile sand, since it's so fine, it getting in their airway. So they're trying to breathe in and they're breathing in sand, and that can cause blockage of the airway, which can lead to worse problems down the road for that child. So thank you so much.
Okay.
Anything else before I take off?
Okay, our next speaker is.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Are you okay with being last? Are you okay?
Hey, see y'all, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, my name's Shane Busby. I'm one of the beach supervisors for 𝐕𝐁𝐀 𝐓𝐨𝐥𝐤𝐢𝐭. We have two shifts. We have an A shift and a B shift. I'm the B shift supervisor. I work Wednesday through Saturday, and then the A shift is Sunday through Wednesday. We double up on Wednesdays. You guys may or may not get to see him. Cliff Hollington will be he's like my counterpart on the other shift. But we're here just to kind of briefly go over some of the code ordinances that you guys may come across out there. The main ones that we hit on, glass. If you guys see anybody with glass on the beach, that's a $100 fine per vessel, whether it's a bottle or a coffee mug or a container that they got fruit in, or there you go, perfect. Anything like that, so you guys can always remind them, hey, glass is not allowed on the beach in Walton County, you might want to just take it off. Dogs is the big one you guys are probably going to see, especially if you're out early in the mornings or actually all day long, because we come across it all day long. So dogs have to have a permit. The only way that you can get a permit is if you're a Walton County resident, or if you live, say, in another state, but you own property here, and you have to be the property owner. You can get the permit through our office. They're $40, and they renew every August, I believe.
What's the color this year?
It's
It's gold right now, and then it renews.
yeah, it's kind of an orangey gold color. So dogs with a permit, they're allowed on the beach prior to 8:30 a.m. and after 3:30. So pretty much early morning walks, late afternoon walks, from 8:30 to 3:30 during the daytime. No dogs are allowed on the beach unless it's a service animal. Not emotional support, not therapy dog. It has to be a service animal. It gets kind of touchy. It's not worth a lawsuit, the way I tell my people. If you approach somebody and they tell you hey, this is a service dog, okay, you can ask them a couple of 88 questions, but
Yeah, 8:30, 40:30 and after.
again, you kind of pick your battles on that with the dogs.
What's the fine on that?
It's $100 if they're on the beach without a permit.
Okay.
It's a $100 fine if they're on the beach after hours. It's also a $100 fine if they're on the beach without a leash. They have to be leashed.
What if they're all breaking?
$300. Yes, ma'am.
So what about the private beach?
Yeah.
And you
So-
own the beach, does your
Private-
dog have to be permitted on a leash on your
No,
own beach?
so everything I just described is public, is Walton County Beach. Private beach, they can be on their property with their dog, as long as they don't, the minute that dog moves over to the next property next door, it's a violation. So that's,
But do they, even though it's not on their own property, don't they still need a permit?
no,
Oh, they don't need a permit?
It's like the backyard.
yeah, yes, consider their backyard. So anyway, any questions on dogs?
What about cats?
Sorry?
What about cats?
So the new ordinance, they're still finalizing everything, and it should come out, but they've changed some of the wording in there. I believe now it's gonna say animals,
Yeah,
but
the draft says animals. So
Yeah.
I was about to say.
I don't think anybody's ever really come across a cat on a leash out there. I'm saying that it doesn't happen,
I took mine.
Sparrow?
but if it says animals, then yeah, I mean, I would assume that they have to have a permit as well. Bonfires. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Quick question, back to the private beaches. What is a private beach? Is Rosemary a private beach? Because it's a,
We're gonna have,
okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they'll cover, yeah, so the whole new customary use stuff, that's,
yeah.
they got the,
Hold that question.
yeah. Where we at now, dogs? Bonfires. So bonfires, permitted, they have to have a permit. We have, if the day goes smooth and nobody calls in sick, we have 3 officers on day shift, 3 officers on night shift. The daytime officers come in at 6, they work till 4:30. The evening shift comes in at 1 and they work till 11:30. It's usually the evening shift that catches all the bonfires. As long as like the outfalls aren't busted open and we can traverse the beach uninterrupted on the side-by-sides, we can pretty much catch all the vendors out there and check all their permits, make sure that they're doing the right thing. Even the private homeowners, they can get like an annual type permit, But even if they're gonna have a fire for that night, they still have to call Southwell Fire and get a permit for that night. So any fire on the beach has to have a permit. The ones that are on the county beach are site and date specific. So if that permit that they get says that they're having a fire at 𝐏𝐥𝐞𝐚𝐬𝐞 and they're down at Dune Island, it's a ticket. They have to be where where that permit says that they're supposed to be.
And that's 500, right? Or is it? I
Yeah,
think it's 500.
yeah.
I apologize for not having the sheets, but they're still working on them for some of the codes, so I normally would have a handout. But when you're finished, I'm gonna have an electronic link. And then I'm gonna do what do you call it, a cheat sheet? So that we have so you know what pages to go to in that 30-page document to see the information.
Yeah, and the biggest thing, he kind of hit on a while ago, was that app. Anytime you guys put a complaint in on that app, we get an email immediately. Every officer on the beach, even officers that are off duty, they get an email on their county phone, and they can open it up, and it'll say, okay, there's a complaint for dogs off leash at so-and-so. So whatever officer is assigned to that zone, they will respond to that complaint just as quick as they can. So again, if you guys see something going on, we don't expect you guys to do our job. We don't expect you guys to go out there and tell people, hey, you can't have your dog. You're just there to kind of educate them and, hey, just gonna let you guys know, dogs aren't allowed on the beach, and if code comes by, you may get a ticket. And if they want to stand and argue with you, just, hey, you did your job, you educated them, just turn around and walk away. It ain't worth you standing there getting in an argument with anybody over, so.
And then file a complaint.
Yeah, and then file a complaint, and then we'll take care of it. Dogs, fires, glass.
Tents.
Ma'am?
Tents.
It's okay.
Oh, tents, yeah, I'm getting to it. All right, so tents, public beach only. Tents have to take up a 10-by-10 footprint. The issue that we've had in the past, and we've kind of, it's a fight with a lot of, they've got these new, the shabumis. Not just the shabumis, but they also got these other ones that have the octopus type, the sandbags that stretch out. So the actual covering that they're sitting under may be 10-by-10, but they've got it stretched out to like 18-by-18. They're taking up quite a chunk. Exactly. So what we tell them to do, if they've got those sandbags with those strings, we make them roll them up. I'm telling them, well, and they'll argue with you. Oh, it won't keep tension. Yeah, well, if you're rolling that rope up around that sandbag, I mean, it's a little bit of a job to do, but you've got to bring that into 10-by-10. Because, you're taking up more room for other people to try to sit, especially some of these smaller beaches like Blue Mountain or 𝐏𝐥𝐞𝐬𝐥𝐿, where the space is limited. So also the tents have to be on the back half or the upper half of the beach. They can't be closer to the water. So we don't expect you to be out there with a measuring wheel, or you can kind of visually look and see where half of the beach is from the toe of the dune to the wet sand. And just remind them, hey, the tents have to be on the back half, because that's also, it's a finable thing, so.
That's
Yes,
really
ma'am.
not enforced at all.
No.
Again, we try. We cannot catch every single one, because, the officers, we got 26 miles of beach to cover, so they may get down one side of the beach, somebody comes and sets up a tent. It may be 2 or 3 hours before they actually get to where they're supposed to be, and then turn around and come back. So, again, that complaint, the collector app helps us. So even like myself, if I call my officer and say, hey, there's a complaint at so-and-so beach, and she says, or he or she says, well, I'm 4 miles away, I can't get to it, then, somebody else can go down there and take care of it. So again, we're not gonna catch every tent, because there's literally thousands of tents and everything out on the beach daily. So, we do what we can with the 3 officers that we got. Yes, ma'am.
Does there have to be a certain amount of space between tents, or are people?
Yeah, we try to tell them to keep a 3 to 4 foot walkway between, mostly for emergency access. If a lifeguard needs to get through, again, that's another fight that we have to get with people, because you're limited on beach space. Again, we try not to come in and just bombard people with tickets, especially people that are coming down here and, you know, trying to have a vacation. We try to work with them best we can, give them a little bit of opportunity to move over. But you can imagine going someplace and you've got everything set up, you've been there for 2 hours and somebody tells you, hey, you got to move 2 feet this way. So you got to pack up all your stuff. And, you know what I mean? It's just, I get it. So we try to work with the public to avoid, I guess, bad PR. You know, you don't want people calling and complaining about Walton County. Again, it's that fine line. We try to work with the public, but at the same time, we try to enforce the rules the best way we can.
What is the possible fine?
It's $100. $100. Anyone? Yes, ma'am.
Well, will there be some, what are there now going to be some paid beach ambassadors to help with some of this? And I know for many years, we had paid beach ambassadors who got to the beach at, 6:37 in the morning.
Right.
And they really headed off a lot of these problems in an amazingly friendly way.
Right.
Like, hey, hate to see you set up here, because if code comes, they're going to make you tear it down.
So,
Will
yeah.
that interchange still be?
That program. So last year we had the paid beach ambassador program under us,
Okay.
and it is now gone over to the sheriff's department.
All
So I'll let him hit on that whenever he comes up to talk. What we also did last year was we implemented, we had signs made, and it seemed to help. This year we're going to pass them out to the managed vendor program guys, the ones that are doing the chair rentals on the public beach, give them these signs. They're going to stick in the sand for us that say no tents beyond this point. That helped out because a lot of people were seeing those and they knew where to set up. So, but you're right, the paid beach ambassador was a
And the
great help.
synergy between, obviously these people
Sure.
in the room and everybody, before it occurs, before they set it up.
Yeah.
It's a whole different scenario.
Because you will get the people that, and all you locals, y'all been down there, you've seen it, people show up at 5 in the morning and go put their chairs up right on the water's edge. And so a lot of times if our officers are driving by and we see that somebody has already set up a tent and there's nobody there, we tag it.
Yeah.
We put in what's called an NOV, notice of violation, and we will zip tie it to that tent. So when that person does come back, they can say, oh, code's come by here, or somebody's come by here, I need to move my tent back. If we come back through and that NOV is ripped off their tent and they're still sitting there, then that was their warning, then more than likely they're gonna get a ticket, because they were already asked to move and they didn't, so. He was talking about the holes a while ago. Steel blade shovels are also not allowed on the beach, so if you see them out there with a steel shovel, I don't care if it's even one of them little itty bitty ones, no metal shovels are not allowed on the beach, so that's something you can also remind them of. We've seen people bring their household with the 6 foot.
We were taking a lot off the beach last year, my wife and I.
Yeah, so I've seen them out with snow shovels, metal snow shovels digging holes, so.
Well, I did have to go home last year and get a metal shovel and get 2 neighbors with their metal shovels to fill in a hole that was huge, and we would have been there for days. I mean, it was deep and it was about 6 feet wide.
Yeah, and I can pretty much guarantee you that if a code officer comes by and sees 3 people out there with steel shovels filling in a giant hole, they're not gonna say anything to you. They may stop and say, hey, we appreciate that, because, we have officers that ride the UTVs at night, even though there's headlights on those things. Sometimes those holes they'll jump out of nowhere and they'll bounce your head off the top of that ATV. Yes, sir. Ma'am, sorry.
So if it's that deep and that big, and there's 2 people, can we call somebody to say, hey, there needs more than just 2 people to fill in a hole? We're talking, 10 feet wide sometimes and 3.
Yeah, I hope that the hole wouldn't get that big, but yeah,
They're huge.
yeah. And that's also it's a finable thing for us. And if we come across and we see them digging holes, no one will tell them to stop and tell them to start filling
I'm
it
just
in.
saying you come up on it, people are gone, they've left.
Yeah.
And 2 people can't do it, especially, got bad back and injuries.
Sure.
So is that code enforcement, or is that, no? You just let it go?
Generally, the holes, with the tides and the winds, depending on how far up it is, a lot of times within a day or 2, the hole will fill in itself.
No.
At times. If it's closer to the water and the waves are rolling in and Brandon's staying with it.
But they're usually higher up on the beach, and they're 5-6 feet deep, and they're 6 feet wide.
Yeah.
can't do it.
We still have to worry about the turtles though.
Yeah, yes.
If we do see violations with holes, and obviously our job is to educate them, make sure that they understand
Sure.
what the regulation is, the ordinance is, what the fine is. If we see violations or get less than supportive response from the people we're talking to, is that contact to you folks?
Yep.
Is it contact to you? Okay, and then the follow-up question is, just based on experience in the past, to what level can we expect support from code compliance in addressing that issue once it's brought to your attention?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys call us and say, hey, I've got an issue down here, we'll send an officer down there to deal with it.
But we do the form, don't call.
Either one, you can call us on the phone, or you can do the app,
Okay.
either
Is that
way.
what they told you?
What was that?
Oh, I've had code compliance officers that I've spoken with right here saying there's that, and with steel shovels saying they paid money to be here, I'm not gonna ruin the vacation, and it's gone out. So I'm just saying, oh yeah, regularly.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm saying, so what is the appropriate communication?
No, I will say as a supervisor, if you guys have a code officer that tells you something like that, I want to know about it. And I guarantee you, Cliff Hollings and the other supervisor, he wants to know about it. And I guarantee you, Danny Garner, who's our boss, he wants to know about it. So if you have a code officer that gives you some answer like that, let us know.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah, thank you.
Any more questions about the holes?
Like the holes on the private beach, wouldn't that interfere with like your vehicles and?
So on the private beaches, we tend to ride more closer to the water, just because we're traversing private property. That's kind of where they want us now. Private property is private property. We can, what we try to do is let them know nicely, hey, the reason we ask you to fill in these holes, first off, I always put the turtle issue on it, because a lot of times that kind of hits them in the heart. You know, if a turtle falls in here, they don't have a backup gear, they can't go backwards, they'll fall in here and they'll suffocate and die. Oh, well, we didn't know that, we'll fill it in. Or the other thing is, hey, if a lifeguard or a sheriff's department or one of us needs to get through here in a hurry to help save somebody's life, this hole could be a hindrance. So you kind of put a little bit of guilt on them. Sometimes it works, sometimes they'll just, all right, whatever. But yeah. Any other questions on the holes? Double red flags, he kind of touched on. We're the same way. Dry sand is always the best thing to tell us. You do have the people that still want to, do their 4 or 5 mile walks every day. Me personally, I've always looked at it as intent. If somebody's walking down the beach and a wave is rolling up and hits them on the foot, or hits them on the leg and it rolls and they continue walking straight, they are not intentionally trying to go into the water. But if you see somebody with the intent, they're going to go out and knee-deep water and just see how warm the water is, or this is my, no, that, you have intention on walking in the water. That's a $500 fine right there. So, again, you can educate them, but if they're walking, taking a walk on the beach, I don't have a problem with that. I don't know if any of the other officers have a problem with that. So, but again, it's the intent. If you see them walking into the water, then that's a no-go. I think that's highlighted on, you got anything?
Leave no trace.
Oh yeah,
Big one with the turtle launch.
yeah, leave no trace. An hour after sunset, an hour prior to sunrise, we don't want anybody, bringing stuff out or leaving stuff out overnight. So if you guys come out on the beach early one morning and you know somebody's tent's up, let us know, hey, this is possibly left out overnight. That way we can do a little bit of investigation and check on it. We can see if it's gonna, if they keep it there, if somebody comes back and gets it, we can remind them, hey, we have leave no trace. What else did you say? Yeah, turtle lighting.
This is new.
Yeah, so we do get complaints from time to time about, it's usually the houses that are right up on the beach, having spotlights on their back porch or some kind of lighting that's illuminating the beach. If you guys see anything like that, we do need to get a report on that, especially during turtle season, because turtles see wavelengths of light different than we do. So there have to be certain colors of light that they want you to put on your house. The bright white lights is not it, because the baby turtles will hatch, they mistake it for the moon, and they go one direction instead of going in the other, and they end up in a parking lot getting ran over. So But this was printed out. I'm just going to read a little bit to you. This is kind of what they're looking for when we make a turtle lighting case. All right, all exterior artificial light sources used to illuminate buildings, ground structures, pools, fountains, landscape, roadways, signs, and other site amenities within the wildlife conservation zone, including construction, security, and walkway lighting, shall comply with the following standard. 1, the point source of light or any reflective surface of the light fixture shall not be directly visible from the beach, and these two have to go hand in hand, and the light shall not directly or indirectly illuminate any portion of the beach or dune system seaward of the crest of the primary dune. So it has to be pretty much lighting up the beach. Just because you can see the light source, it has to be lighting up the beach. Okay? An example, Alvin's Island, I think it was the one over towards Miramar. They had one of their spotlights on top of their building, or a parking lot light that was angled a certain way, and it was actually casting light across scenic and illuminating part of the beach. So that was made a case. We contacted them. They had somebody come out and rotate their light, turning it back. Or homeowners will let them know about it, so they'll put shades, or they'll block the actual direct light. So you may, again, the light has to be visible. So you may be able to see light coming down, but the actual light source, the bulb, has to be visible as well. So a lot of times they'll put shades on to block that. So again, it has to go hand in hand. I didn't print off enough copies, so I'll leave these copies with you, and if you guys want to make more, hand them out. I think that's about it. We'll be back. Yes, ma'am.
Quick question. Which agency or group will be enforcing overnight parking regulations?
All right, so
And what are those hours and times?
We also have a street side parking division.
Okay.
They don't work at night. But I do believe the sheriff's department, they have, I guess you guys have night patrols where they check for parking and stuff like that. Yeah, but if we do get reports that, hey, we think somebody may have been parking overnight, then we'll do an investigation, and if we have to work partners with the sheriff's department on it, we'll let them know, hey, we got a call about this camper sitting at Fort Panic parking lot for 2 nights. We can pass that on to them, and then if they have a night guy, they can check on that.
How did he go before panic?
Well, and part of the short-term rental ordinance also is the parking spaces available within, based on how many people are renting. So like you'll start seeing right now on Facebook, people are going, we're coming and there's not enough parking spaces. So you'll start to see cars parking in the county right-of-way overnight. So that is actually a call to the non-emergency number, and the sheriff's department will come out and ticket, because it's going to be hard to determine the 15 cars or 10 cars that are parking in the right-of-way that are not supposed to be there based on the short-term rental ordinance.
Yeah, but I think right now our parking, they've got 6, the 2 or 3. Yeah, they have 2 per shift, and they work 6 to 4:30, I believe it is, and a supervisor. So again, they're kind of stretched thin as well. But yeah, but we don't have a night shift for the parking. Any other questions for us?
Any more questions? Okay, we'll get some.
All right, appreciate it.
Sergeant John Lennister. He's been talking just a little bit about the trespassing, yeah. Customary use, I'm drawing a blank on customary use.
All right. Hey everybody, my name's John Glenister. I'm the supervisor with the Beach Marine Unit. A little bit of history before we go into customary use. So I started in 2006 with the Sheriff's Office. Back then, we didn't have issues such as people trespassing on the beach just because there wasn't enough people to generate a complaint. It really wasn't a thing back then. We started noticing the trespassing complaints come in probably around 2015, 16, that time frame. In 2018, a lawsuit was filed with Walton County and the beachfront homeowners. And that lawsuit has finally concluded. So this year is gonna be our trial year with that lawsuit. So I don't know if some of you guys have followed the lawsuit or not, but customary use is null and void now, meaning it does not exist. So there's gonna be two types of parcels. So one parcel, some people have settled with the county with a lawsuit, and some people have not settled. Those that settled have allowed a 20-foot transitory zone between where the water's edge is, 20 foot in, to allow the public to transit, to put down a towel, to sit, to enjoy the beach between the hours of 9 to 4. And then some parcels have not allowed that at all. And so that's just purely going to be a private beach. Now, a lot of beachfront owners don't really care too much. Some do. The sheriff's office standpoint is we are call driven and reactive only. That means that we're not going to be out there proactively driving up and down the beach, seeing a no trespassing sign, seeing someone out there and saying, hey, you're trespassing, you've got to get off the beach. For the calls that the people that call in, it has to be someone that has the authority over the property, meaning it has to be an owner or it has to be a representative. They have to be present. Then we talk to them, find out, who is it that's on their beach that's trespassing. We have to see their deed. They have to have their corners marked. There's a lot of hoops that have to jump through. A lot of people don't have that paperwork. And again, a lot of people don't care. So we're only really dealing with probably a handful of beach parcels that are complaining. But basically, customary use is null and void, doesn't exist anymore. So we're handling it based on when we get the calls for service. For you guys, I don't think you're gonna have much of an issue.
I have a question. So when you
Sure.
go under the ordinance, it's still there, but you're saying that's gonna be wiped out? Because I'm still waiting
It doesn't
for
exist.
the,
Because
it's still there online, when
lawsuit.
you go online.
Gotcha, yeah, but the lawsuit has, Judge Green, the
Yeah,
lawsuit has superseded that, and
Right.
so it does not exist anymore, so.
Okay, so,
I don't think you guys are gonna get many issues, but if you do have someone approach you, don't get in a confrontation, you can always give us a call, and we can come out to mediate. We're not here, the sheriff does not wanna make an arrest on the beach, he doesn't wanna do that, but we have to follow the law. We don't have a decision in that, we don't have a bias in that, we have to follow the law, so. But we're gonna try to mediate. If we get that call, if we get, someone's out there saying, hey, he's on my property, I don't want him on my property, we're gonna make sure he's got the authority and has all his paperwork, and then after that, we'll go and talk to him and say, hey, do you mind moving? This is, Mr. Smith's private beach, so. I'm sure you guys have plenty of questions, so I can start. So I'm gonna start right here.
Two questions. How would someone know which property you're allowed to walk on?
So they have, part of the requirement for the people that care, part of the requirement is they have to have 4 corners marked. So that means they have to have their north or south, their east and their west, so anybody that's standing on their private property can look and see, yep, I'm standing on private property.
Right.
Paradise by the Sea, if you've ever been over there, they're good about it. They mark each parcel and they'll name each parcel. You don't have a whole lot of issues with, say, Sandustin, Rosemary, Seaside. We never get complaints from those. We're talking about specific houses they're actual houses that own down to meet high water. That's usually what we're dealing with.
and so you're almost saying you gotta walk in the water in order to pass their property.
So what sand is, our attorney's stance is that what sand is gonna be the state.
Just trying to make
But
sure.
I'm double registered, you can't walk up, you shouldn't be walking on the wet sand,
That's
so.
against-
So that's what I say, so where is that 20-foot line from
Yeah, that's
where the wave stops? Is that where it starts at
So,
20 feet? Does it
don't
mean that much?
I probably shouldn't have gotten into the 20-foot transitory. There's only certain parcels that have settled. The
Right.
majority of them have not settled. So it's only certain parcels, and you'd have to get on our GIS map to see which ones settled and which ones do not, that have that 20-foot transitory, because not all parcels have the 20-foot transitory. It's confusing, it's gonna be confusing for us.
Well,
You have a link,
It's not gonna show.
is there a link or something that I can provide to them?
Yes.
Listen, don't make a big deal out of this, because we are not enforcing it. So if Melody came up to me and said, you volunteer beach ambassador, you need to go tell her to get off my property. This is my private property. You just go, I'm sorry, guys, you gotta call the sheriff.
Right,
This is-
good answer.
I'm only covering holes and picking up trash.
Has-
I'm not-
has anyone
So do
yelled at
not,
anyone
under any
as a
circumstances,
patrol
get involved.
volunteer?
That's what we're saying.
He just asked, has anyone ever got shouted at? Yeah. There's a few, like
So it
you
does-
said,
it does
there's a
happen.
few. Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
real
and-
quick, for everyone, just so if you weren't a part of the meeting, because it was a small meeting, Sheriff Atkinson actually recorded the meeting that he had at the sheriff's office here on September timeframe, I believe it was. And it is on their Facebook page, but he went into the entire customary use. He outlined the 39 parcels that had settled. He had maps and everything, actually what the sheriff's department's gonna do, what we're supposed to do.
Oh, good.
So I would encourage everyone to go and take a look at that and watch that video by Sheriff Atkinson.
Okay, for those of us that don't use Facebook, is there another place where we can access that? And Beth, to your point, it's more, I have no interest in being confrontational and doing any of that, but I need to know where I'm allowed to walk.
Yeah.
And if somebody asks me, I need to be able to tell them where they can.
But I think there's also a common sense based on what our officer has told us. If you don't see four corners marked,
Right.
they're already out of compliance.
Correct.
If you transfer from one side to the other and someone says to you, you're trespassing, well, then if that's not the owner, if it's a renter, if it's not a representative of the house, they can't do anything anyway.
Exactly.
And if you're just walking, picking up trash, filling in holes, by the time they complain and an officer gets to it, you're already 3/4 of a mile down the beach. Personally, wouldn't worry about it.
But that covers us, but I regularly get questions from people saying, I understand there's an issue with the beach, where can I set up?
Unless they see four corners,
Yep.
help yourself. That's what I'm hearing him say.
You have to
If
try
they
to,
don't have the four corners, it's only 20 feet or whatever it is, it's not all the way up to the dune line.
you have
Right.
to try really hard to get arrested in this situation.
That's what I'm hearing him say, and that's what you guys
It's
should
gonna be
hear him
intentional.
say.
It's gonna be intentional. That's the only way you're gonna get arrested, is intentionally saying, I'm not leaving.
That is marked four corners,
Mark
and
four corners.
they set it up anyway.
And I've pleaded with you for 20 minutes, please, can you just move?
Now, when you say mark the four corners, so does that mean that they're gonna have a sign somewhere down in the water?
Almost all your beach owners are gonna have permanent signs on the north.
Yeah.
So they have a northeast and a northwest sign, right?
Yeah.
Their southeast and southwest signs are foldable signs that they post out every morning.
Like sandwich boards.
Yes.
They sandwich boards that they post out, and they post them in the water where they can wash
No,
away?
they just post them just north of the water, just a little bit.
Kind of just a quick comment. I was going to say that I think everybody in this room has been doing this for a few years now. And I have to say that in our origins and by our name, we are ambassadors. So part of this is just understanding and getting knowledge about the beach and the section of sand where you're walking. So originally, you know, the restaurants, the facilities, the wheelchairs, and little by little, as you go out this year, you may, you know, get some new knowledge about exactly where those markers are or where that private is. The big joke was, what was it, the guy at 𝐏𝐥𝐞𝐚𝐬𝐿, you know, we all learned who he was. So I think it's just putting on your ambassador hat and just being knowledgeable enough, and to your point, to hopefully be able to direct people to some alternatives of where they can park and how they can get around and where they can get their nails done and get a drink.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
There's a little folder. There's a little thing at the visitor center
Yeah.
that instead of stressing, you know, where you can't walk, just tell them, these are the best.
Yeah.
The parks are just the best, you know, they're so pretty, and bathrooms and showers. And then, or you can go to the number of beach, public beach accesses, and parking, and bathrooms. So instead of, you know, stressing out about where they can't go, you need to tell them where.
Yeah, send them to Grayton and Topsail, you know, they get shuttled down, there's plenty of parking, it's all set up, and in the summer it's free.
So I deal a lot with the owners that complain all the time. I know them on a first-name basis. So I know them. And what their main concern is, they don't want people posting up on their beach. Meaning they don't want someone setting a tent up and then throwing a party on their beach that they pay money for, which I understand and respect. So, with that being said, I'd be surprised if they complained to us about you guys volunteering to try to help, establish turtle nests. I just don't see that happening. So I think you guys are gonna be okay. I understand you wanna know what you can and can't do. But as long as you're not confrontational, you call us, you're gonna be all right, I think, as an ambassador. I think they would want and encourage you guys to establish if there's a turtle or not on their beach.